Someone told you to rest, your physio told you to stop for 6 weeks, your coach told you to push through, and your mate at the gym told you to just strap it and keep going. So who is right? Because I'll tell you right now, the answer that I'm going to give you is not what you're expecting. I'm Jade, a doctor of physio and exercise scientist, and I work with people who train. Whether it's runners, crossfitters, weightlifters, or weekend warriors, I help people get back to doing what they love. And the number one question I get asked in clinic is, can I train through this? Today I'm going to give you a real answer, one that's based on the evidence, and one that's going to make a lot more sense than rest or push through. Pain is not a reliable measure of damage. I'm going to say that again. Pain does not equal damage, and damage does not equal pain. We've known about this in the pain science research for a couple of decades now. Your nervous system produces pain as a protective output. It's your brain's way of saying, hey, pay attention to this area of the body. But how loud that alarm system goes off is influenced by numerous different factors that are different for everybody. Your stress levels, your sleep, how much you care about a competition coming up, whether you've been injured in that area before, or you might know somebody who had a terrible experience. So the idea that pain equals stop and no pain equals go is way too simple. And it's the reason why so many people either go back to training too early, re-injure themselves, or take too long to get back to training and lose a lot of fitness in the meantime. What we actually need is a better framework, and that's what I'm going to give you today. Before we talk about training through anything, there are a few situations where you stop. Full stop. No debate, these are what we would call a red flag. Red flags include sharp, severe pain that comes on suddenly, pain with significant swelling, bruising, or the area of the body just doesn't look right, pain that gets rapidly worse with any movement, pain that occurs after any hit, fall, or collision that doesn't settle quickly, and any neurological symptoms like numbness, tingling, or weakness. Any of those, you stop, you get assessed, non-negotiable. But most of the pain that people come and see me about in clinic are often pain that's more of a niggle. It might be something that was a bit sore yesterday, it's a little bit better today. That knee pain that comes on at around K8 in a 10K run. Shoulder pain that comes on when you're pushing a certain weight overhead. This is where the real conversation starts. I'm going to introduce you to the traffic light system. This is a framework that I use clinically to help me determine whether or not it's safe for somebody to continue training as they are, whether we need to include some modifications or whether we need to stop entirely. First of all, we want to rate your pain on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being no pain at all and 10 being the worst pain that you could possibly imagine. First up, we have 0 to 3. This is what we would call a green light. This is pain that the research consistently supports that you can continue to train. You might need to modify or drop your intensity slightly, but you can continue to do what you're doing. Pain that's a 4 to 5 is what we would call an amber light or an orange light. This is where we would want you to proceed carefully. We would want to modify fairly significantly, shorten your session, reduce your load, and see how you pull up 24 hours later. Pain that's about a 6 and above is what we would call a red light. This is where we would want to be stopping the activity that causes the pain, not forever, but just temporarily. 6 out of 10 is your body's way of telling you that your body is not coping with your current load, and so we need to give it a break for right now. But here's the most important part of this framework. Most people would consider their pain right in the moment, but it's also really important that we consider how it feels just after the session, how it feels 24 hours later. The 24-hour response is one of the best signals we can use that indicates how your body is responding to load. Now that we have the framework, the third most important thing to think about is what questions can we ask ourselves about our activity? Because not all training is equal when we're managing pain. Can I modify the activity and stay in the green zone? Can I run shorter or run slower without having to stop altogether? Can I switch an overhead pressing movement for another exercise that still trains my shoulder, but I don't get the same level of pain? Can I change the range of motion that I'm moving throughout and limit the pain? Can I load a tendon through a range of motion that doesn't spike my pain? In most cases, yes, and that's why it's really important to be working with someone who also understands training load, not just injury management. The typical rehab model has always been, here's what you can't do, here's what you should do, come back and see me in 2 weeks. That doesn't work for people who train. You don't want to stop. You don't want to lose your fitness. You don't want to lose your progress. You don't want to let down your team. And in a lot of cases, you don't have to. You just need somebody who understands both sides of it. Complete rest is rarely the answer. Active rehab is one of the most effective ways that we can give your body the rest that it needs, but also load it in an appropriate way that's going to get you back doing what you love faster, safer, and stronger than you've ever been. Complete rest is rarely the answer. Active rehab and smart load management, whilst training around the injury while it heals, is one of the most effective ways to get you back to doing what you love, stronger than ever, without losing too much fitness or strength. And there's a solid body of evidence that supports this. So should you train through pain? Here's the real answer. It depends. And I know that everybody hates that answer, but in this case, it actually depends on things that you can assess. Not just how brave you are, not how badly you want to return, or not just because your coach is pushing you to. Red flags, stop and get it checked. Pain above a 5, modify or stop that activity, but continue things that don't hurt. Pain below a 3, but settles within 24 hours, you're probably safe to continue with some small modifications. The athletes I see who recover the best are not the ones who push through everything or stop at the sign of any discomfort. They're the ones who know how to read their bodies and adjust their load accordingly. That's a skill, and it's one that you can learn. If you found this useful, subscribe to my channel. I want this channel to be a place that you can come to for physio content that respects the fact that you train and want to keep training. Drop a comment below. Do you have an injury or a question that you'd like me to cover next? I'm going to be reading all of them and getting my video ideas straight from the comment section. I'll see you in the next one.